This is our trade deadline special, and once again, I'm joined by the host of the JB podcast, James Boyzitz.
How's it going, guys? It was a day, huh? I mean, it was a day, right? I think
Yeah,
we could say.
right. So weird trade deadline. I think there was a lot of names that didn't get moved that people expected to, and a lot of deals for didn't seem like a lot of big moves, a lot of just marginal moves for a lot of teams. We'll start with the Knicks trade because I think that's probably the biggest one of the day.
Of course, you want to start with the Knicks trade,
Well,
don't you?
you know.
No,
uh,
no, no. It was the biggest trade of the day by far, probably biggest trade of the deadline and in general.
Full details of the trade. The New York Knicks are sending Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second rounders to Detroit for Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. So immediately you see Bojan Bogdanovic is a 20 point per game scorer. Alec Burks, also a former Knick. He's had a pretty decent season for what has been a terrible season for the Pistons. And the Knicks send some of their bench depth. Some of these guys don't play. Evan Fournier finally off the Knicks. He doesn't just sit on the bench pouting all game. And they get much needed bench scoring, which has kind of been a problem ever since the OG Anunoby trade earlier this season. So, James Boyce, I ask you, what is your thoughts on this trade for the Knicks?
It's a no-brainer, man. This I couldn't believe the Pistons just gave the Knicks Bojan Bogdanovic. They just gave him away. And, listen, I'm a Nets fan. I'm a little salty. I had this thought. I was like, Leon Rose, I think, has made some mistakes in the past that kind of don't get enough attention, mainly because the Knicks have been good, especially because of how Brunson has been. But the Obi Toppin over Tyrese Halliburton pick is a disaster of a draft choice, especially when they already had Randall and they needed a point guard. Like, to me, that is, thank God he signed Jalen Brunson. Seriously. And even with the Jalen Brunson signing, you cannot tell me he was expecting this from Jalen Brunson. Like, you cannot
Right.
tell me that Brunson being this good, like, is a huge thing for Leon Rose. Leon Rose did a good job, got Jalen Brunson, not saying it's a bad signing, but his, evolution as a player, I'm not giving Leon Rose necessarily all that credit. I'm giving more Jalen Brunson that credit. But with that being said, what Leon Rose did do is he didn't give up 5 first-round picks, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly for Donovan Mitchell. He was smart, didn't bite on the Danny Ainge thing. And with that, he also has drafted good players. I'm not saying like he screwed up with the Toppin thing, I thought, but as far as drafting quickly, all those guys you turn quickly and Barrett into didn't want to pay quickly, make that a bad contract, turn that into OG Anunoby, which I know you weren't a fan of at the time, but Anunoby's been pretty good for the
Mm-hmm.
Knicks, and he's been a good fit for them. And it wasn't just you. A lot of Knicks fans weren't sure about that. They were like, they wanted more of kind of like a starry kind of guy, but Anunoby's been great. And the fact that Leon Rose has gotten Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, OG Anunoby, and Precious Achua without giving up 1 first-round pick is pretty insane. I think that's an excellent move. And I don't know what the Pistons are doing. I just, you tell me you couldn't get 1 first from a contender for Bojan Bogdanovic?
He definitely
Like,
could have.
a first, just
Just
a
one. Yeah, they
first,
definitely could have.
2 second-round picks. I mean, Knicks, what Leon Rose has done is he's decided to trade with a stupid team and just completely took away a valuable player for them.
This, other than the 2013 Knicks that we had with Melo, which was kind of just a 1 year kind of thing that worked, this is the best built Knicks team, I think would be better said, of the 21st century. The Brunson deal, you're right. I mean, people kind of hated on the deal right away because Brunson was what, a 17 point per game scorer, and we gave him $100 million over 4 years. People are like, what is that? I'm not going to give Leon Rose credit for that as much because I don't think anyone saw this. No one saw him being this good. Like, he has been literally one of the best guards in the NBA. I mean, that's just crazy to think for someone so small but so skilled. This deal I love, obviously. Alec Burks, he was on the Knicks prior. The problem with Alec Burks at that time is Tibbs played him at point guard. I hope we don't see that ever again.
Probably
But
will.
Bojan Bogdanovic is someone that has been thrown around in trade talks for like the past 2 years, has been kind of just forgotten about in Detroit, but he's a really good scorer, has been his whole career. That is a huge pickup for a Knicks team that one sometimes lacks shooting, uh, and also lacks scoring off the bench. And especially now with the injuries that they're dealing with, Quentin Grimes was hurt, but he's not going to be in Detroit. Randall's dealing with the dislocated shoulder. No Mitch, and OG Anunoby is also dealing with an elbow inflammation injury that kind of getting a little concerning. This is a needed boost for a team that has a path here, I think, to really making a deep playoff run. Embiid, we don't know what's going on with his injury. What exactly is the extent of his
I th- I
meniscus
I
injury?
think he's done, dude.
I also think so.
Whole thing sounds like Philadelphia trying to tell their fans, like trying to let them down easy
Hmm.
and being like, no, no, he could still come back. We could still compete for a title. It all sounds like, I mean, they said 4 weeks for a
To
torn meniscus.
reevaluate him, 4 weeks
Yeah,
to
it's just,
reevaluate him,
I mean, I
and
don't know.
and the meniscus is, people who have had that injury, there's many different things they can do, and depending on what exactly they did to repair it, it can take, only about 6 weeks. It could take 16 weeks. It could take months. So, and the way Kaminga, I think, is what, I don't know if he had this injury prior, but Kaminga falling on his knee definitely is what took him out. But Philly, they have been not good without him being. Maxi obviously is going to still score, but they have not been good. So if the Knicks find a way really to get up in the standings, Milwaukee has been a disaster defensively, even with Doc Rivers now coaching. And then Boston, you mentioned it. Boston made a good move yesterday with Xavier Tillman. I think they traded a second round pick or something like that. That's a good move for them. Give them a little more front court depth. But I do think the Knicks can really compete fully healthy with any team in the Eastern Conference, and that is also in due to part these two deals that he made, that Leon Rose made this season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's what do you want me to say, man? I'm an F fan. What do you want me to say? This I am so jealous right now. It's like I'll admit it. I am. This is because the Knicks are basically doing what the Nets were doing before Katie and Kyrie went there. That's basically what they're doing. Like they did this whole thing. We're like, all right, we're gonna build like a small market, almost like no one wants to come here. We're gonna get guys that want to get come here, play hard. We're gonna hire a good coach that's gonna help us, play hard every night, compete every night, be a good defensive team, kind of get these guys who are underachievers, or I'm sorry, that didn't achieve anywhere else, or people might have doubted them, and then we're gonna take them here and we're gonna build a team out of it. That's basically what they've done. Only they didn't sign Katie and Kyrie to kind of ruin it. They're just sticking stable, getting a bunch of no drama, hardworking guys. There's this huge James Dolan story going on. So like that's another thing too. Like if this James Dolan story is true and the NBA finds a way to get him out, all right, that's like another world. Like a Knicks fan's fantasy without James Dolan. I mean, you could go anywhere. I mean, they're doing this with him still there, and this huge story that's going on. It's like you haven't even really heard about it though, because the Knicks are winning. It's very scary. It's very scary. And you know what? Like Boston is really good, but like I said, like if you're telling me Joe Mazzulla, Tom Thibodeau in a playoff series, I'm going with Tom Thibodeau, like as the better coach. And the Bucks are a disaster defensively. They're like a team that has won that many games, and yet I still look at them like, I need more from you guys. Like even with Doc, and Doc's not a great coach in the playoffs either. So
We know his track record. Yeah.
considering how bad the defense is for the Bucks, and you got a coach that can't win or close out in the playoffs. I mean, having a bad defensive team with that is kind of a disaster. I'm just saying, I'm not saying they shouldn't have fired Adrian Griffin. They probably should have. They probably made the right move. And Doc, it was probably the best coach out there. I'm gonna fight for Mike D'Antoni all day, but he's not gonna help your defense.
No.
Um, so you know, I just look at it like I if the Knicks went to the NBA Finals, I could see a path. I could. I could see a path, but it's going to come down to Julius Randle. He's got to play well in the playoffs this year. If he's healthy, He's got to play well. It's that simple. And you know what? It could happen. It could happen.
Whether you're new or old, be sure to like, share the video, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel at True Troops for more basketball content.